Hey, Burkie.
Hey, Burkie.
Hey, Burkie.
Hey, Burkie, when I say the name Mike Penny, what comes to mind?
Gee, Mike Penny, it's Pavel Bure. I mean,
Pavel Bure?
yeah, Mike Penny did a lot of great work in Vancouver. He drafted Trevor Linden, he drafted Peter Nedved, but the one that he really deserves the most credit for is Pavel Bure. So Pavel Bure, his draft year, the information that Central Scouting distributed to teams was that he played in 9 games in the top league in Russia, and you had to play in 10 games to be eligible to go in the first 3 rounds. So we took him in the 6th round because Mike had information that he'd played 2 additional games in St. Petersburg. We had the game sheets in Cyrillic alphabet, like it didn't even read Pavel Bure. But we had these game sheets that he played 11 games, so he was eligible in any round. Otherwise, you had to take him in the first 3 rounds. So we took him, and people went nuts on the draft floor. People stormed the stage. Like, people were standing, yelling at Mr. Gregory, the late, great Jim Gregory, screaming at him. He's not eligible, he's not eligible. And Mr. Gregory's like, guys, they can take whomever they like. Like, I could draft Jeff Merrick tomorrow if I want. But if it's not an eligible pick, the pick doesn't stand.
Right.
So they said, look, we'll investigate it. So anyway, the draft was in Vancouver the following summer. And it was the biggest attendance ever at a draft because we had a threat of a labor dispute at Pacific Coliseum. So we had the draft at BC Place, the football stadium.
Yeah.
So there are 32,000 people
Huge,
there.
yeah.
But the night before, we're in our suite, and Pat's smoking a cigar, and we got all the scouts. We're taking Peter Nedved. We had the 2nd overall pick, I think it was. So we get a knock on the door. It's Gil Stein, who was the right-hand man to John Ziegler at the time, hands us a press release that they've upheld the pick. So now we get Pavel Bure awarded to the Vancouver Canucks 12 months after the draft. We got Peter Nedved and Sean Antosky, like the best 24-hour period ever for the Vancouver Canucks.
But how did you get him to Vancouver?
Well, we had to sue the Russians. We handpicked a jurisdiction. We looked at all 50 states and said, where's the best case law? And it was Michigan, because Pavel had signed as a 17-year-old, but his dad had co-signed as his guardian. So we had to find a state that was favorable to voiding contracts signed by 17-year-olds. Michigan had the best case law. They had 3 or 4 cases on this. We didn't think the Russians would answer. Like, so if I sue you, Jeff, in Iowa, there's no jurisdiction. You just ignore it. But they answered. They filed a response. I'm like, okay, now we got him.
Great.
Now it's all about money. Now we got the guy. So we were 3 days in court with the judge. The judge was Kathleen McDonald, a tough Irish lady, really smart lady. I really liked her. So we got him free for $250,000. And then I remember Pavel was training in Spokane with his brother Valeri, and he went to Spokane to get his gear, and I met him in Seattle. We went to the consulate, got his paperwork done, and then I was going to fly with him to Vancouver, but we heard there was a big scene at the airport. There was already a big scrum, so we just drove. Never forget this, going through the bridge, and I've got my passport, and then I got Pavel, and the guy knew who Pavel was. He was like, Jesus, Pavel Bure. We're driving up, and Pavel's like, what's that? I'm like, mountain. And he says, mountain in broken English, right? And then river, bridge, car. Like, he's working on his English as we're driving to the rink. I'm like, this kid's going to be just fine.
At what point did he get the paycheck?
I think the communists were the best capitalists in the world.